Hello, this is Jon Speelman with a roundup of the penultimate round of the Tata Steel tournament in Vacanze. It's been a tremendous tournament, a ferocious tournament, and today's round left everything up in the air before the final round, though Wesley So's certainly favourite. He drew today as white against Wei Yi, and that's left him on 8 out of whatever it is, 12, I suppose, ahead of Wei Yi and Pavel Elyanov, Magnus Carlsen and Levon Aronian on 7.5. And Aronian and Carlsen both caught up by winning today. Carlsen, did he beat Elyanov? It was Elyanov he beat, wasn't it? So Elyanov had been presumably sharing the lead, had he, before today's round, but he lost. He didn't play very well, I think. And the game I'm going to give is Aronian against Van Velde, which is a nice, violent game. So it'll be enjoyable fare, I hope. So I guess, yes, the last round pairings, okay, people will have seen them if they don't pick this up tonight, but So is black against Nepomniachtchi, sorry. Carlsen is white against Karyakin, which is exciting because obviously that's a reprise of the World Championship match, and we'll have to see how that's affected them. It'll be very interesting to see that. And Elyanov's black against Danishgiri, and Aronian's black against Andreikin. So I guess that So is very much the favourite, but we'll see. I mean, anything could happen. Anyway, let's crack on and we'll look at Aronian against Van Velde. And this was another King's Indian. Okay, F3 obviously offers a Grunfeldy stuff with D5 takes, E4, which Van Velde wasn't interested in. And also people, was it Vacher Legrave's played the strange move E6 here. Anyway, so bishop G7, E4, and we're getting to a King's Indian, knight C3, D6. So now we're in a normal Zamish, knight G2, and against Wojtaszek, Van Velde played C6, and he got a reasonable position, I think, though eventually he lost. This time he went A6. So, well, I mean, bishop b3, knight c6, I think would basically be the normal position, wasn't it? There's a thing that goes bishop b3, knight c6, queen d2, rook b8, and now they sometimes play rook c1, but if they go knight c1, e5, d5, knight d4, knight b3, you can either take and play c5, or you can play c5 at once, takes, knight takes, pawn takes, bishop takes, which is a pawn sacrifice, which I don't think is supposed to work, but, you know, who knows what the truth about this position is today, whatever it was yesterday. It'll have been analysed anyway to extinction. But instead, Aronian played knight g3, and I imagine his idea of knight c6 was to play d5, knight e5, and to get on with it with f4, which is dangerous, but also a lot of fun. I mean, you can, you know, black's, when you do this, black just goes away and says, all right, very good. You've played a sort of four pawnsy thing, but you lost the tempo and your position's loose. And it's a battle. But I guess that's why he played knight g3. You know, obviously he will have done some work before deciding to do this. And Van Velde decided to play one of these things with a6 and c6, whose name I'm forgetting at this instant. Bishop b2 rather than bishop b3, so I don't know. c6, castles, b5, and bishop b3. Okay. So they're playing their moves. Now you can take on c4 if you want. And you can play e5 if you like. If you play d5, well, it doesn't take because of knight b6, but goes away. And now white's threatening to play e5. And unless black can do something rather quickly, then white's going to get the advantage here. At least he's going to have a nice centre. I mean, you can take, and try to play a strong move, but I'm not sure what a strong move looks like. I don't know, maybe e5 or something. I mean, obviously, if you could play knight g4, it would be wonderful, but you can't because the knight's in d7, and black has a bad pawn structure unless white can unless he can sort something out. I don't know. This isn't so clear to me. The knight in g3 is slightly bound. Well, it would rather be an f2 anyway. But okay. I mean, it's just a position. We're still in the opening, and he just played rook b8 and rook f2, which means that if takes, then he's protecting the b pawn laterally. And now, so rook c1, probably threatened to do something on the c file, and Van Velde got on with it and did this in c5. And, well, the queen side has stabilised. White has this central advantage. I mean, I don't particularly like Benoni's, which is what this looks like. And my feeling is that white should be better, but it may well not really be true. That makes sense, I think. Later, the c3 square sometimes gets used, so maybe b3 wasn't necessary yet. I don't know if he could have played h3 first, maybe, just to tee up to play f4. Wasn't obvious at the time at all. Well, I mean, I thought this position should be clearly better for white. I thought, Aronion's going to do something bad to him. But actually, this position isn't that clear, I think. I mean, white wants to somehow get an f4, e5, takes and play f5, and then stuff black on the f file. So you go e5 takes, and you don't really capture, you play f5, and when you do that, you get some sort of massive attack. That's the idea, with the e5 pawn takes pawn thrown in to block black up. But it's not that clear at all, I think. h3 makes sense, teeing up to play f4 at some moment. He could, by the way, also have tried to play knight to f1 to e3. That's also a perfectly reasonable plan. The knight would obviously be good in c4. King h1, who knows whether it's better on h1 or h2. You want it off this diagonal if you're going to start attacking, but it's hard to tell, isn't it? Round about here, well, it's a very unclear position. I mean, I asked an engine, obviously, and I got this line, which is not obviously, a line. It's just a series of moves. Bishop d4. Don't know if this is really a very good idea. Rook ff1. Rook e7. e5 takes f5. f5 e4. Now it likes bishop b3 basically to weaken the black squares. Rook b8. And now, to my surprise, you can actually take in d4 here. Assume e3, you just take back and nothing really happens. Takes and play queen f4. And you're seriously teeing up now to do something bad to him, I suppose. I suppose is f6 going to win a piece? Even if you win a piece, it's not that clear to me. I suppose you might end up if it went e3, well, knight e2 is probably a good move, but I'm also looking at f6. Knight takes, queen takes, rook takes. Maybe takes d3 is scary. I had a line where white ended up, well, maybe just equal. Very complicated position. I mean, I don't know. But in fact, after queen f4, the line that I got out of the engine was rook e5, d6, which is a clever move. The queen takes, there'll be knight e4. Bishop takes, rook takes, queen takes, knight e4, queen f8, takes, 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 a5. This is the line I got. I mean, and this is about equal probably, I suppose. But it's a long, long, long way, obviously. Anyway, I think probably round about here, Van Velde started to go wrong. He went queen d8, which he seems to want to voluntarily pin himself, which doesn't seem a great idea. I mean, knight d7, f4, rook e7 is much more natural. It's just, So Aronian pinned him, as you might do. Rook b7, queen f4, and now the pin is quite serious. I don't understand why he's done this really. Here, queen e5. So it's getting really tactical now. The queen can go to d4 at the moment, and rook d2 is played. Rook fc2, my engine likes. And then basically, I think f4 is then a serious threat, and it wants to play h6 takes knight h5, which is not going to be very inspiring. You get the queens off, but you are a pawn down for not a huge amount. I mean, if you can exchange the c4 and play a5 and a4, then that bishop is still a wonderful piece, but I'd much prefer to be a pawn up. Anyway, your man played rook d2, bishop takes c4, and now he started hacking. He played f4, which basically forces black to sacrifice the queen. After which it's a total mess, though a mess which is better for white, pretty clearly, I think. I think he could have recaptured as well, but okay, he played f4, which is a lot of fun, and I doubt if Van Velde very seriously considered queen e7, rook takes c4, bishop g7, which is obviously incredibly dangerous. e5 takes. Why isn't he going knight e4? He wants to go d5, d6 here for some reason. Is there some reason why knight e4? Oh, you take the rook, sorry. Take an e2. So actually, the engine wants to go here, here, f5, pawn takes pawn, and then the rather extraordinary move, bishop takes f6. Just basically supporting the passed pawn and queen h5. Now, if f4, knight e4 is a catastrophe, so went e4 and I stopped here. I think knight f5. And clearly that pawn on d6 is a huge unit, though it's not completely over. Also, I assume knight f5 is the right move. I didn't actually ask its sublime majesty about that, and that there might be some other move I'm missing. Anyway, you went queen e4, and the hacking started. Takes. A lot of things on prees. Rook e1, good move. Teeing up to take the knight in lots of circumstances. Bishop c3 was played, which actually is not a terribly good idea. I mean, it's not a position where anything's at all obvious. Bishop b5 is probably the best move. f5 you play. Pawn takes pawn. And now the engine, after a little while, plays the splendid g4. f4, rook takes knight, rook takes rook, bishop f6. And by getting an f4, g4, f4, you've stopped black getting a huge passed e-pawn. And after takes, this is pretty good for white. I think you perhaps have to play rook d7, which is not a particularly pretty move. Still, obviously, anything could happen at this moment because you've got a passed f-pawn and, well, it's a mess, isn't it? It really is a mess. But, I mean, if you went rook here or something, queen takes pawn, and if you do play queen takes pawn f3, then this doesn't look that clear to me. That may well be so. I'm trying to work this out. This is just perhaps queen d8 check now and d6 and rook checks and rook checks. I don't know. So I'm making this up now. I'm not using an engine, so I'm probably completely wrong. d6. I wanted to go check here, check, takes, king, f2. And I have at the moment not a clue what's going on. It looks to me actually as though probably this is going to be enough for a draw. It might even be enough for more than a draw, actually. Queen f8 check. You got a rook e8 at the end. So maybe, well, okay, so queen d6 must have been a mistake here, I presume. After rook e7, perhaps you go rook f2. That looks like a lot more sensible, doesn't it? It keeps a lot more control of the possession. Yeah, that's obviously hugely more sensible. But even here, you can go check, king, rook. And at the moment, I can't play queen f4, which is annoying. On the other hand, the queen is controlling the f-pawn, so it would go take, take, king. I suppose if you get this f-pawn, then it's going to be very good for white, but yeah. I'm sure it is, but it's just not that clean a position. Check. Now, maybe I'd probably go to g2, in fact. If I go to f2, there's rook f1 and f3. And, all right, I will believe that this position is very good for white after 2 or 3 accurate moves, but I could also imagine it going very wrong. So bishop b5 was a better move than what he played. He played bishop c3, and Aronian... The thing about top players is that all top players are basically hackers. If you analyse with Vladimir Kramnik, which I've occasionally done, then he will look at the Yahoo move just as everybody else does, and so will Arthur Yusupov. The fact that they play beautiful positional chess doesn't mean that their heart isn't in the right place. I try to kick the opponent as hard as possible. He went f5, and the guy took it. I'm wondering now whether g takes f5. I don't know if you go rook takes. You probably go rook takes e4 and queen g3, and that causes a nasty accident, I'm guessing. Okay, so he took it, but unfortunately, when you take bishop takes, suddenly the black squares are really not your friend. And bishop takes d5, getting this guy off prise. Sorry, was I analysing a line in which I didn't realise in the middle of all that after g takes f5 you can just take a bishop? I wasn't I? Sorry, it's so completely bonkers that I hadn't noticed that in this position you can play pawn takes bishop. Whereupon, obviously, you resign. So I'm sorry about that. That was pretty dopey of me. Right, so rook e1, bishop c3, f5, bishop takes, bishop takes d5. Another beautiful thematic move, rook takes e4. Smashing black on the black squares. There is no fianchettoed bishop, and his king is not a happy guy. If rook takes e4, there's the very pretty queen d8 check, king to there, pawn to there, check, mate. But so he took with the bishop, as you might do. Queen f6. Bishop h6 is coming, so you play bishop g2, obviously, because if king takes, rook checks, and white looks ridiculous. King g1, getting out of the check, and there is absolutely no defence against bishop h6. So, he resigned. So, rather a nice game. I'm now wondering, could you play rook e7? You couldn't, because bishop h6, check, king takes bishop, check, king f3, and the bishop controls e3. And there are other ways to win as well. Yeah, nice chess by Aronian. Good thematic stuff. A complete mess in the middle of the game. And then he carved his way through the complications and saw the important things. And the important thing was that after black gave up his black squared bishop, his king was naked. And a naked king is not... The naked king was completely at the mercy of the queen and the bishop. So a very good game, actually. Excellent chess by Aronian, who did what he had to. I think Van Velde probably by now, these tournaments are pretty tough for him because he's a very, very strong player, but he does tend to get bashed in Vike. And by round 12, I imagine, if it were me, then my head would be completely reeling. And he's younger and stronger, but still, I imagine a lot stronger. But I still imagine his head is going in circles. So he isn't quite at his full strength. Anyway, so we let's hope we have an exciting last round, and it's been another great tournament. Okay, let's have fun tomorrow then.